screen.
Mike, are you on your phone and you're on your iPad? So you're showing.
He is, isn't he? Multitasking.
Do you need to either disconnect your phone or disconnect your iPad?
I'm doing this one. Good evening, fellow councillors, and welcome to our Christmas Fall Council meeting. Can I say I'm not really feeling too Christmassy this evening, and it's up to my chaplain, David Walsh, to make us feel Christmassy this evening, and I hope you're going to do that this evening, David. Will you please bring us into our prayers and open this meeting with me? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, tomorrow evening, the Mayor is joining us as Kettering gathers together online to celebrate Christmas. We've got messages, music, readings and prayers from KGH, the police, Barton Seagrave Primary School, the Girls Brigade, local care homes, businesses, the Camerata Singers, the Gus Band, as well as the Rotary Club of Kettering, Inner Wheel, and around 6 churches from all across Kettering, all joining together online. Hope some of you can join us. Our theme at the Old Parish Church this year is Hope is Born at Christmas. For many, of course, it's been a dreadful year. Some have lost loved ones. Some have lost jobs. Many people have been struggling with their emotions in isolation. As we approach the end of 2020, it now looks as if 2021 will bring better news, that there is some hope. And so this Christmas message that hope is born seems particularly well timed this year, that in the birth of this baby Jesus, God comes among us and points to a better future for individuals, but also for Kettering, for the nation, and for the world. I'm going to use a prayer sometimes used at crib services. We pray you, Lord, to purify our hearts, that they may be worthy to become your dwelling place. Let us never fail to find room for you, but come and abide with us, that we may also abide with you. For as at this time you were born into the world for us, and live and reign, King of kings and Lord for lords, now and forever. Amen.
Thank you, David. Item 1, apologies. Are there any?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We've received apologies from Councillor Duncan Bain.
Anybody else?
Councillor Talbot, Chair.
Councillor Talbot?
Councillor Talbot is here.
She's got my problem.
Councillor Talbot, you're still muted.
Sorry, I'm still muted. That's for Councillor June, Derbyshire.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other apologies? Item 2, minutes of the last meeting. Is everybody happy with them? Wish for me to sign them?
Yeah.
Yes, Chair.
You're all in agreement?
Yes.
Item 3, declarations of interest. Anybody?
Councillor Groom's hands gone up, Chair.
Councillor Groom?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Employee of Northamptonshire County Council Library Service. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Anybody else?
Just check the second screen, Mr. Mayor. No, can't see anyone else.
No, all happy? I'll go on to Mayor's announcements on item 4. Well, fellow councillors, it is with deep sadness that I can inform council of the death of the former Mayor of Kettering Borough, John Coleman, who has passed away at the age of 85. Now, John represented the Pipers Hill ward on Kettering Borough Council from 1987 to 2003, serving on a number of committees, including the Planning Committee, and in 2000, he was elected Mayor. John was born in the area and will always be remembered for his vast local knowledge. Together with his wife Lillian, as Mayoress, they undertook a vast number of civic engagements in 2000 to 2001, taking every opportunity to promote the borough and engage with as many local people and communities as they could. This council sends its condolences to Lillian and his family on their sad loss. It is also with a heavy heart we share the news that our colleague Belinda Scolan, if I can actually pronounce that correctly, passed away on Friday the 20th of November 2020 after losing a battle with cancer. Belinda was a team leader in customer services and she loved her job at the Kettering Borough Council, championing and providing excellent customer service while caring for colleagues and residents. She showed enormous strength and dignity throughout her illness, and she always thought of others, even when she was struggling herself. She never let cancer change her and fought the disease with vigour and determination. She will be sadly missed by everyone who knew her. And under the circumstances, I'm going to ask you to observe 1 minute silence, please. Councillors. Thank you, councillors. I've got quite a few announcements to make. And the first one I'd like to do is first, Councillor Currell. Can I actually congratulate you? I'm afraid I omitted it at our last full council meeting to congratulate you on becoming the Mayor of Burton Latimer. I'm sure this council is thrilled that you are. I'm sorry that you're having the year you're having, but hopefully come next year, they might even consider rolling it over and giving you another year as Mayor of Burton Latimer. We'll see what they intend to do.
Thank you very much.
You're more than welcome. Councillor Henson, may I say to you, happy birthday for last Monday. We all send you birthday wishes, I'm sure, from all the councillors here. For hopefully you're going to have a healthy 2021. If I have to add that one. All thanks here. You probably all realise that actually raising money for charity is very, very difficult at the present time. And I came up with the idea of asking you as councillors and officers to delve into your drawers to sort out various quantities of currency that you might have laying around that you've been on holiday and left in the drawer. And I would just like a few thank yous here because a lot of you have done exactly what I've asked you to do. First of all, can I say thank you to Councillor Dutton, who unfortunately, I think he went through his drawers and didn't find any foreign currency, but he made a personal donation to the Mayor's charity, and thank you, Councillor Dutton, for that. Councillor Stanton, I'd like to say to you that I understand you've asked some of your friends to do the same, and the actual currency that you sent to me actually raised over £120 in itself, and I'm very grateful for that. Councillor Groom and Councillor Watts, thank you for your donations. I now know that you are very well-travelled people for all the countries of the coins you sent me, and thank you very much indeed to that. And lastly, but not least, I'd like to say thank you also to Martin Hammond, who sent me a quantity of coins in a tin. And to you, Martin, I also sold the tin. So that's also going to my charity. I'd like to give you an update of some of the things I've been able to do. Obviously, I've been very limited to the events I've been going to. I've been doing one or two things virtually. I've done a virtual Christmas light switch on for Cransley Hospice, and that you can actually see on YouTube. Also, hopefully after tomorrow evening, hopefully I'm right in saying you will be able to see the Rotary Carol service, which goes live on the 17th, also on YouTube. I'm doing a reading on that. And the other thing that I did was a virtual light switch on with Hugh Dennis, which you can actually view on our own, I'm going to say YouTube channel, but it's the This Is Kettering website. So you can see me saying a few things with the Mayoress on there. I've also sent a letter of congratulations to Councillor Tom Beattie, as you know, is the leader of not Kettering Borough Council, Corby Borough Council. He received an accolade for Councillor of the Year award, and I think that's it's a great accolade for him to receive for all the years that he's worked hard at Corby Borough Council. I've also sent a letter to Glenys Hooper, who's retired from the Crazy Hats on a high, may I add. What a lady, all that money they've actually raised. I do congratulate her. And lastly, at the moment, we have you've all received an email regarding the Creative Arts Festival. Now that goes live on Friday, and that's going to be between 5 and 7 on YouTube. I think that's going to be a really interesting thing to watch. I think they're going to have lots of talent, young talent from across not only the borough, but the of Northamptonshire online. So I'm going to actually be there to watch that on that evening. So literally, that's all the things I have to say this evening. And before I go to the leaders' announcements, I do believe, Councillor Watts, you would like to say something this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is just a follow-up. You'll recall at the last full council meeting, I was unable to give you a total of the money that I was able to raise for the British Heart Foundation during my mayoral year. And the reason I wasn't able to give a total is because my final fundraiser, which was a return of the wonderful jazz night that we had, you very kindly offered to collaborate with me and to hold that concert at a later date. Well, back in June, the later date chose the 5th of December, which was the later date chosen, seemed, well, a different age away. Yet here we are, still locked up tighter than a barnacle on the bottom of a boat and unable to hold that event. So I've closed the books on fundraising for the British Heart Foundation for my mayoral year, and I promised I would come back and report on the total that I'd managed to raise. And that total is, I'm really, really chuffed to say, just a few pounds over £8,400. So I'd like to take the opportunity, Mr. Mayor, if I may, to thank all of the councillors and officers, and indeed all the participants of the meeting tonight that helped fundraise during that year. So there we are, duly reported. And if I may, Mr. Mayor, just wish everybody watching tonight a very healthy and happy Christmas, and good luck to you with your fundraising as well, because it's not easy.
Thank you, Councillor. I certainly need that. I have to say, can I congratulate you on that, Councillor Watts? What an amazing amount of money under the situation.
Yeah.
Can you imagine what that would have been had you not had the constraints that we have had to do. Very, very well done indeed. I'm sure
Thank you,
that
sir.
the British Heart Foundation will be very, very pleased to receive that amount.
Thank you.
Leader, Councillor Roberts.
Well, I'd like, if I may, Mayor, to say to Kelly, an amazing achievement. Absolutely.
Thank you.
I've only got a few things to say. One is that we were shortlisted for the APSI Awards 2020 for the Best Health and Wellbeing Initiative. We were shortlisted, which is good in its own right, but unfortunately today, when they handed out the awards, we didn't get the award. But I would still like to say to Shirley and her team, well done. You worked hard. I'm sure you'll win next year. And then on the back of the announcement I made at the last meeting on the Green Apple Award, we did get Bees Needs Champions Award from the Department of Environment based around our Pardon the Weeds, We're Feeding the Bees campaign. And another one, Rose of Northamptonshire Award from Northants County Council. This was awarded to the Shared Services Refuse Team for their efforts during the COVID-19. It's part of the Unsung Heroes of Northamptonshire initiative. I thought that was worth a mention, Mr. Mayor. Let me wish you festive greetings and try and lift your feelings. So you said it earlier that you were a little bit down. You shouldn't be. You're working very hard, and I'm sure you're going to have a great year. It'll be different, but I'm sure it'll be great. And I hope everybody has a safe Christmas. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Roberts. Now I understand item 5, the Managing Director, I've had a word with him, has no report this evening. So we go on to right to speak. I don't believe we have any speakers this evening. So we'll go on to item 7, which is Kettering Town Council budget and precept for 2021-22. Councillor Bundy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At its meeting in September, the council approved the order establishing a town council for the enlarged Kettering town, which comes into effect on April the 1st, 2021. This report clearly sets out the proposed precept for the new Kettering Town Council. It includes costs of staffing, accommodation, elections, audit, insurance, and administrative costs. It also prudently includes a £15,000 contingency. I'm very happy to propose the recommendation of paragraph 7, and I'm also happy to answer any questions from the council this evening. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Jelly.
Very much, Mr. Mayor. I'm very happy to second this report and reserve the right to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Right, councillors, anybody would like to speak?
Councillor Hapewell.
Well, here we are, Councillor Hapewell. First in again, well done.
As ever, and happy Christmas to you, Mr. Mayor, and colleagues. I've been following the unitary, the harmonisation and the arrival of Kettering Town Council with some interest. And I think, Mr. Mayor, that we really ought to understand some of the background to this. But what concerns me is that we are looking, excuse me, at a budget of £134,000 for Kettering Town Council. There are many services which the borough carries out in Kettering Town area for the whole of the borough as well. Now, if you look at a precept of £134,000, that is the equivalent, not far off, of Burton Latimer, Irchester or Findon. And if you look at Rushden Town Council, that has a precept of 1.6 million, and we're looking here at 134,000. So it's very clear, Mr. Mayor, that Kettering Town Council is still going to have most of its services carried out by the borough. in this first year. This relates back also to the Borough Council's view that it shouldn't devolve services down. That's fair enough. We've had the situation with election expenses whereby all the parish areas of Kettering currently pay, and have since '74, for the elections into the main council tax, which remains. So if Kettering Town starts to look more like Rushden and have a very significant precept, will there be a rebate of the taxes that are being paid into the harmonisation of North Northamptonshire for residents in Kettering Borough? If you see my point there, Mr. Mayor and Councillor Bunday, clearly this precept doesn't cover all the services that Rushden and other towns in North Northamptonshire carry out. And my great concern is that we are double taxation. We still pay into the harmonised council tax for all Foreign County, and we're then being asked in Kettering and the parish areas to pay more in relation to other services that are carried out elsewhere. I've tried to raise this point, and I shall continue to raise this point, but it would be very good to understand if we were sat here in 3 years' time, electorate and health willing, would there be much greater precepts going into Kettering and the other parishes as the unitary authority devolves away and doesn't continue to do the services that currently the borough does for us? So it's a very serious question, and to date, since June, when I've started asking this question, no single councillor has answered the question. So there is my question for Councillor Bunday. How can that be that 134,000 covers Kettering and Rushden has a budget precept of 1.6 million? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hakewell. Councillor Bundy, will you be able to answer the question that apparently nobody else has been able to answer?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do wonder what Councillor Hakewell is really up to. I'm just glad that he doesn't have a chance to actually read my grandchildren any bedtime stories, because I think they'd go to bed and have nightmares. As I've said on several occasions, a town and parish council, the only things that they are totally responsible for are elections and allotments. Anything else, it's not a case of things being done onto them. It's a case of them taking on those responsibilities. So historically, over the years, the likes of Rushden have actually taken on extra responsibilities that they have chosen as a council to do. Now, at the moment, the only thing that the likes of Rothwell, Desborough, Geddington and all the other towns and parishes within Kettering Borough at the moment are required to do are those simple things of elections and allotments. Now, if a certain town and parish council want to take on more responsibility and the unitary wants to give it to them, that's fine, but it has to be their decision. And that is where we're standing today. So we have quite a clear, small budget there, which isn't too great. And the fact that it doesn't go over £140,000 means that we don't actually have to consult on it. I think it's a good budget. It might change in 12 months' time. The new town council might want to take things on, but there's certainly some of the things that Rushden Town Council do. There's no way that I would ever advocate that North Northamptonshire Unitary would actually want to give those to the small towns and parishes. Simple as that.
Thank you, Councillor. Anybody else want to speak on this?
Councillor Brown.
Councillor Brown, Councillor Michael Brown.
Hello, how are we doing, Mr. Mayor? Hope you're well. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
As you know, I don't personally think that a town council is the right solution for the people of Brambleside. But we are where we are. So we've got the budget in front of us tonight. What concerns me a little bit is there's £13,500 on that budget for office accommodation and for member accommodation at the Bowling Green Road offices, which seems to be use of a bit of an office and the monthly hire of the council chamber. And that seems to be an awful lot of money for very little. And not only that, touching on the point of double taxation, the people of Brambleside have already paid their council tax for this facility at Bowling Green Road. And now we're going to be asking them to pay for it a second time in this budget for this council. And it just doesn't seem to be very fair or very right to me. Maybe Councillor Bundy can kindly explain that maybe I'm wrong and I'm mistaken on this, but it does seem £13,500 to rent an office and a council chamber from yourself that you've already paid for just seems a bit immoral.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Councillor Bundy, have you an answer for Councillor Brown on that one?
The current rates that are put into the budget are based on the current market costs and market rates. As far as Kettering Town Council or residents of Kettering Town Council paying for it twice, they're not really, because that that accommodation will belong to Northamptonshire Unitary, and so as a consequence, in the same way that other towns and parishes pay something towards the rent of their accommodation, Kettering Town Council quite rightly will have to pay something for their accommodation.
Thank you, Lloyd.
Thank you, Councillor. Anybody else? Councillor Dutton.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. In this season of goodwill, I'd like to actually support the report. I think it's a good idea at this stage to set up a town council at fairly minimum expense. My only and to see where it develops from there. It's almost like you've set up a shell town council, and the councillors will then be accountable to their constituents for how it develops. My only question is, and I don't want to be rude, is just what will the town clerk be doing for that salary if really all he's going to be in charge of is the allotments and the elections and one or two other things. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Bundy.
I know that we've actually advertised for an interim town clerk. Exactly what his job description is, I don't know. I can find out and I can circulate an answer to that to members, or certainly get one circulated.
I think you've answered the question. Anybody else?
Councillor Don.
Councillor Don.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess I should add season's greetings to everyone, as everybody else has already done so, although I don't feel particularly seasonal this time. It's all a bit depressing still, isn't it? However, a couple of points, please, if I may. First of all, I would welcome Lloyd's comment just now that he would circulate the job description of our new town clerk. I think that would be quite helpful for all of us concerned. Look, Councillor Bundy also said that the only responsibility would be the allotments. I understood that we were going to be responsible for the market and the market charter as well. So if we could just have clarification on that one, please. And also the neighbourhood plan that's mentioned somewhere near the bottom of the list of the funding. I'm hoping and presuming that that is referring to the Headlands Residents Association application for a neighbourhood plan, but confirmation again would be helpful, please, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Don. Councillor Bundy.
Right, Councillor Don is absolutely right that the new town council will be responsible for the markets and the market charter. What I was saying was that the only statutory responsibility of a town or parish council is to provide elections and allotments. So those are, and Councillor Hakewell might probably jump at me, they are extra responsibilities that will be taken on. Sorry, I've forgotten Councillor Don's other part of the question.
Mr. Mayor, it was about the neighbourhood plan.
Yes, sorry. The neighbourhood plan is a proposal for the whole neighbourhood plan for the whole of Kettering Town, not just for the headlands.
It's not. Do you want to come in on this one?
Oh, sorry. I've got
Just clarify
I think
that.
we're going to have some clarification on that, Councillor Bundy, from Mr. Hammond.
So the £1,000 in the budget is to finish off the Headlands neighbourhood plan, and there's a budget which enables them to complete their exercise in 2021.
That answers your question,
that was
Councillor
frightening.
Don.
I stand corrected.
Anybody else?
I see no other hands, Mr. Mayor.
So that's it.
Councillor Jelly's hands just popped up.
Councillor Jelly hands just popped up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can I come back on the right to speak?
Of course you may.
Yeah, just to come back on this, I think, you know, we've got to start somewhere, Mr. Mayor. It gives the new town council a good basis to start from. And once they're in situ, they can decide on what they want for their future, if they want to take on services in conjunction with the unitary council. And I think just going back to Councillor Dutton's question about what would the clerk actually be doing, the clerk is the responsible finance officer for the town council. So they would be responsible for the finances, the accounting, admin, etc., etc. And obviously that will develop as the town council develops as well. But they have to have a responsible finance officer. But I think it's, you know, it's, as I said, it's a start. We've got to start somewhere, and I'm fully supportive of it going forward. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Jelly, for that clarification. That was news to us all. Thank you very much. Anybody else? In that case, we go to, who's going to, are you going through the report? Are we going to vote on this? So we go to the vote then. Who is for this? Is a motion? For this
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will read out each councillor's name in turn. If you could unmute yourself and indicate whether you are for, against, or not voting. Thank you. I'll start with Councillor Adams. Councillor Adams.
Unmute. For.
Thank you. Councillor Sedwin Brown.
For.
Councillor Mike Brown. Councillor Mike Brown.
I think he may have disappeared, Anne.
Right. Councillor Bunday.
For.
Councillor Currell.
For.
Councillor Davis.
For.
Councillor Deering.
For.
Councillor Dutton.
For.
Councillor Don.
For.
Councillor Edwards.
For.
Councillor French.
For.
Councillor Groom.
For.
Councillor Hakewell.
Against for the reasons stated.
Councillor Henson.
Was for.
Councillor Henson. Did Councillor Henson indicate for?
Yeah, she's saying.
Yeah,
for.
she's indicated for.
For. Councillor Holloway.
For.
Councillor Howes.
For.
Councillor Jelly.
For.
Councillor Lee.
For.
Councillor Marks.
For.
Councillor Mitchell.
For.
Councillor O'Hara.
I think that was a for.
Councillor Roberts.
For.
Councillor Rowley.
For.
Councillor Scrimshaw.
For.
Councillor Stanton.
That was a for, Anne.
For.
Councillor Talbot. Councillor Tolbert, could you indicate for, against or not voting, please?
I think that's a 4, Anne.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Councillor Tebbert,
Councillor Tebbert. He's playing with his iPad. I can't even see his face, so I can't tell you what he's saying either, I'm afraid.
Here
Here
he
we
is.
go. Councillor Tebbert.
Dane 4.
thank you. Councillor Titcombe,
4.
Councillor Thurland,
4.
Councillor Watts,
4.
Councillor West.
4.
Thank you. That is, I'll just count up how many we've got.
Clearly carried.
I think, yeah, I don't think there's any need to count.
That's 34, 1 again.
Thank you very much. So that is approved. Thank you very much, councillors. Move on to item 8, the close down measures of the committee minute sign off. Councillor Thurland.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, this is a very simple request of this council that we put in place a process to confirm the accuracy of the last sets of minutes for all our committees and forum meetings still to meet. It is an issue which seeks to ensure we leave our borough, as we have always done, keeping to the legalities required of our administration. I do hope you agree that all bases have been covered, Mr. Mayor, in item 2.3, and that we can have confidence in this recommendation so that we pass on to the new council an agreed and legal set of decisions and a record of what was discussed. And Mr. Mayor, hopefully people won't take the remaining meetings as the last opportunity to get their names in print. Thank you, and I'll answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor. Councillor Edwards.
Very happy to second this report.
Oh, is that it? Do you want the right to reply?
I'm pretty sure there's not going to be many questions, but
I understand.
Yeah.
Councillors, any questions? Councillor Hatewell, once again.
Here I am trying to get my name in print. I would just say, Mr. Mayor, that I've got the full text from my day job of the night before Christmas. If Councillor Bunday himself or his grandchildren or children would like to hear it, I'll do that. Why I wanted to make a point on this particular report is that I find it really sad that all of these committees of scrutiny have been closed down. We are about to go into a budget process, and I'd like to ask Councillor Thurland what will be done, and would it not be possible to have an informal, even with all of those forums, meeting in relation to the budget that's going forward for the unitary? Mr. Mayor, in the County Council, the words were from Max Culler that scrutiny was not welcome, and I found that too. The Borough Council has welcomed scrutiny far less than the county did. And I find it very disappointing, Mr. Mayor, that we are closing down these committees, which we are, and this is the item before us. I would like to see some opportunity for the towns and parishes and the people of Kettering Borough to have some sort of forum, as we have every single year for the last 20 years. The budget, albeit for the borough, would have gone to these forums. Now the budget for the Northants Unitary could well do so. So I would like to ask Councillor Thurland and the leader whether they would consider an informal meeting of these closed down fora, just inviting the same people, to discuss the budget, which is going to affect everyone on this borough, and in fact put the council tax up by 5%, which has seemed, Mr. Mayor, to be something that the Conservative Party on this council have rather resisted raising council tax in the past. So I'd like to ask that question, and Mr. Mayor, thank you for allowing me to ask it.
You're welcome, councillor. Councillor Thurland.
Yeah, I think I got the gist of the question in all that. I don't believe we can have informal talks. We are talking about a legal set of decisions and records that we have to do, and that's how it stands. So they will be legal. If we should have or can have informal meetings, as Councillor Hakewell calls for, I will get in touch with him and I'll send a message round to everybody. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, councillor. Any other councillors?
Councillor Jelly's hand's gone up, Chair.
Councillor Jelly.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to go back on that about the proposed or draft unitary budget, that is actually out for consultation for anybody and everybody at this moment in time. So I'd urge people to go onto the website and have their say on thoughts about the budget going forward. And that's a good opportunity for everybody to get involved wherever they come from. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you for informing us about that, Councillor Jelly. I do, hope that people will get involved and give their opinion on that issue. Anybody else?
Mr. Mayor, can I say that's an ideal opportunity for people to get their name in print if they go forward and put their comments on. And if there's no other questions, we can go to the recommendation as per item 7 on page 22. Thank you.
Absolutely, that's what I was coming to, Councillor.
Thank you.
So if there's nobody else wishes to speak, we'll go to the recommendations. All those for? What are we going to do as we did before?
We can either ask if there's anyone against.
That's fair enough. Is there anybody against this motion, please?
Silence, Mr. Mayor.
So we're all happy.
It's
So
unanimous then, Mr. Mayor.
that's approved then.
Yeah.
Item 9, motions, there aren't any. Item 10, questions, which we had one question from Councillor Lee, of which there is an answer. Councillor Lee, did you want a supplementary?
Yes, I think the question and answer should be read out for people watching on YouTube. Would you like me to do that, Mr. Mayor?
Just one
It's
moment.
a supplementary question.
If you would like, Councillor Lee, it's Christmas, so I'm more than happy to have you do that if you'd like to read out the answer so everybody can hear it.
Mr. Mayor, I will summarize it. I asked if this council is prepared to adopt a more flexible procedure for people speaking at council meetings who now currently are only called into the meeting just before they speak and taken out afterwards. And there is a time lag on YouTube, which puts these speakers and residents at a disadvantage. The response that I've received here from the council is negative. Several meetings, arguments have been given as to why that is not possible. It's not possible to let speakers attend the entire meeting with their video and mute switched off. So my supplementary question is, does the assumption that speakers will generally turn on their video feeds and microphones before they're asked to and after they're allowed to, does this not illustrate, Mr. Mayor, that some councillors consider themselves too much as public masters rather than public servants?
Councillor Thurland, I believe you're responsible for this.
Mr. Mayor, you wouldn't expect me to speak on a technical matter. I'm going to bow to the better knowledge of Councillor Rowley. Thank you.
Councillor Rowley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No, we don't see ourselves as above everybody else. But speaking from a practical point of view as chair of planning, last night we had 7 events, 21, therefore there could have been 21 speakers. Trying to manage 21 speakers and the councillors on screen is just not practical for a Zoom meeting. So that's why we invite them to come in and come out. And we have, as far as I'm aware, we haven't had any complaints from the public about the problem, any problems doing it.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Lee, we know it's not perfect. You know how I feel about virtual meetings. It's I like the one-to-one. I like to be in the room like we all would like to be, but it is what it is. I'm afraid it's something that we all have to put up with.
Mr. Mayor, could I just say something? I think it's not whether we're prepared to do anything, how we do things, but it's how we can in these strange times. It's how we can operate. It's not how we would like to, but as Councillor Rowley said, practicalities have to come into this. When you've got, somebody should look at trying to do the whole of the Northants with all those councillors on. It's like herding kittens, as you know, and people can still watch prior to their spot and post their spot. So I don't think they're going to miss anything. Thank
All right,
you.
councillor, thank you. Right, if I go to matters of urgency, which there aren't any, so that brings me to bring this Christmas Council to a close. Can I thank you all for joining us this evening and wish you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And I'm looking forward, if we indeed have it, for February full council meeting. Do we know what's the date? David, do we know? I've caught you now, haven't I? Because I can't remember. Who knows what date it is? 13th. I think it's all in our diaries anyway for February, but that is the penultimate one. There will be the last full council meeting of the Borough Council at the end of March, but that date will be forwarded to you. Now, all stay safe, all have a wonderful or the best Christmas you can possibly have within your bubble. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Good night, everybody.
Good night, Mr.
Bye. Merry Christmas.
Happy Christmas, everybody.
Good night, everybody.